Good morning. Welcome to Life in the Markets. My name is Tim Russell, and I'm here with our fellow co-advisor at the Life Financial Group, Stephen Rohrer. Today is Friday, June 20th, and we're coming to you from an obviously different location. We're sitting here inside of a library where we've been having our annual staff retreat for the last 2 days. Wrapping that up now, wanted to come to you early with an updated version of Life in the Markets because we will not be coming to you on Monday. So this episode is in lieu of Monday's episode. Wanted to just review a couple things that are driving the markets this week, and frankly, from beginning to end, in spite of all that's happening with Israel and Iran, the market's down a little bit, but it's frankly not as bad as many people have expected. Stephen, you have any thoughts for us about what's driving the markets this week, and specifically about Israel and Iran and things that our clients might want to know as it relates to whether we will or not get involved in that conflict?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a fascinating couple weeks because Trump and his cabinet are definitely divided on what they're going to do there. And there's been a lot of pushback even from Trump's base to the idea of going into another war. So we'll see. We'll see what he does or what he decides is necessary. One good thing to note is that historically, even going into a war, for instance, when we went into Iraq, the market actually had a very good year, up 20-some%, depending on which index you're looking at. So even if we do go into war with Iran to some degree, it may not be boots on the ground, but it also doesn't mean that it will be bad for the markets. So that's encouraging.
Yeah, so bottom line is don't worry about the headlines. That the markets are going to do what the markets are going to do regardless of what the headlines are. Yeah. Think about it this way. Is McDonald's going to be any more or less profitable if we enter into some kind of conflict? The answer is McDonald's doesn't really care. At the end of the day, it's still going to be selling Big Macs. Same thing with Starbucks, same thing with Amazon. At the end of the day, the fundamental things that are driving the markets are not the things that are actually showing up in the headlines, which is like a common theme over the last several weeks for us. Disregard what you see on the news. Don't be afraid of all of the uncertainty that the news headlines presents to you, because the markets are going to do what the markets are going to do based on the fundamentals of the underlying businesses of each of these markets. Now, obviously, news can have an impact, but usually those impacts are small or short-lived. So that's our thoughts. Just a couple other things that are kind of impacting the overall markets. The Fed came out this week and said, hey, we're holding interest rates the same. So the federal funds rate, which is the key interest rate that many other interest rates in the market are set off of, is remaining at it's like 4.25% to 4.5%. Pretty steady. We haven't seen any significant drawback there. Many people have been anticipating a significant drop in the interest rates, but it doesn't appear that that is at this stage looking likely, probably until maybe October of this year, where we're more likely going to have a reduction of interest rates. Remember, as interest rates go down, that's actually good for our retirees who are invested in bonds. So be aware of that. I think a drop in the interest rates potentially could be a good thing for bonds. Of course, it also depends on why interest rates are going up or why interest rates are going down. If we have a massive economic softening, we would prefer to not go down for that reason. All right. The other thing that's driving the markets presently, I guess it's not really driving the markets, but it's relevant to you and to me, is the Senate now has the tax bill. They're coming out with their own modifications to it. Some information has come out about the things that they're looking to change or modify. We're not ready at this point to do a deeper dive on that, but I really want to spend some time when the bill goes live to help you understand more about the potential impacts as an investor, as a retiree, as a worker, what the new tax bill may do for you and your reality. So be on the lookout for that in the coming weeks. Yeah. The deadline, I think Trump gave us a deadline, Independence Day, July 4th, to have this tax cut done and sealed in the books. And Not likely that that's going to happen. I don't think anybody's surprised, which means that we're going to go into a summer recession. No, I'm sorry, not recession. That was Freudian. A summer recess for Congress, which means they're not going to be picking it back up until they come back into Washington, maybe late in August, to start making some progress with that. So things to be aware of. What can you expect going forward next week? We're obviously going to continue to watch what's happening in the news with wars and conflicts. I don't expect anything major to be happening within the markets. Again, we will be watching and we'll report to you in the following week. Actually, I guess the next week we'll be coming to you is the week of July 4th, so the last Monday in June. We'll have an update for you. So we'll give you more information at that point. Wanted to just close with a final thought and a verse for today. And that verse is from 1 Corinthians 4:2. And I love this verse. It says, "Moreover, it is required of stewards that they be found faithful." It doesn't matter what happens in Washington. At the end of the day, you don't have to stand before God to account for that. You don't have to stand before God and account for what happens in Israel and Iran. You don't have to stand and account for what happens between your children and God, right? You are required to be faithful. As a steward, we have the responsibility between ourselves and God, ourselves and those that God has placed us in authority relationships with. So our family, our spouses, our children, be faithful. Don't worry about the rest. All of that will take care of itself. Focus on being faithful where God has planted you. All right. Until next time, take care, God bless, and be safe in the markets.
The topics discussed in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific investment advice or recommendations. Investing and investment strategies involve risk, including the potential loss of principal. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Securities and advisory services are offered through Genius Wealth Management, member FINRA and SIPC.